Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So, here I am actually on the three platforms together: YouTube, Facebook, and Insta. Guys, you can see me, and you will very shortly see my guest too on the Insta as well. I have already sent the request, and there you are. How are you?
Hi, thank you. Thank you very much for honoring me on coming to your show. Thank you for having me onto your show. I'm good.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, guys, I'm back with Honest with DK after a while. However, it's an amazing topic and amazing guest I have today with me, Amit Khanna. Let me introduce him first to you guys, and then we can take our discussion forward for the talk show. Amit has been a seasoned, Amit, you're there? I can't see you on one
Yeah, yeah.
platform.
Yeah, I just got give me 1 second. I'm joining in.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, meanwhile, let me
Yeah.
introduce Amit. Amit is a seasoned project manager and a very agile personality. With more than 16 years of global experience, he's been actually a resident of India as well as Australia. I love to hear that. He loves to work with people. He thinks himself lucky to work with incredible teams on varied business and technical projects in global companies. While working, Amit uses his art and science of storytelling. And that's what our topic is all about today. Storytelling can, in fact, help you at any stage, every point in time, in every level to grow to the next levels. Let's see today. So, telling about him, which he claims has helped him to be better at collaboration, building rapport, and eventually gaining trust. So he decided to help and spread the word of storytelling by initiating his own show. There is a beautiful show he runs. It says Stories That Impact. His show gives people a platform to share their story and their journey. Amit's mission is there to impact 1 million lives by sharing stories of people. How amazing is it, right? So he says, you too have a story. You know it? Let's hear it from him. Amit, welcome back. And the stage is yours to let us know about you, about your introduction. How did you really got to this storytelling piece and recognize that this is something written you?
Sure. Again, thank you for the lovely introduction. Uh, you can hear me, right? Clearly.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. So, storytelling, back. So, let me go back around some 20, 30 years ago. Okay. As a child, I remember that I think I was 8, 10 years old, and I was not good at studies. Okay. I was horrible with studies. I mean, my best part was I used to pass. Okay. So I know that I'm gonna clear all the exams. I never used to fail, but I was not a person of like 80s or 90s scoring. And you can understand in 1980s how it was a time where comparison and your class fellows and like my neighbor who was with me, he always used to score well, and it was nice. But the problem is that I used to get actually tormented, I would say. It's a heavy word. But the pressure, right? You get it from your parents all the while, and your friends sometimes, especially your parents, your teachers, your tuition teachers, and so on. That are baju wala acha kar raha hai, guys. What is wrong with you? So that's how I grew up. And I what happened is I lost all the confidence in me, which was not good. When I see it now, I can imagine what I would have gone through at that time. And believe me, it took me 21 years to accept the fact that, okay, Amit, you are not going to be in the top 10% of the scoring.
Mm.
And I came across a wonderful book called as You Can Win by Shiv Khera. And the
I am also
book,
ready.
right? And the book had a lot of story. That was the time. And there was another book that it's a fiction book basically, by Sidney Sheldon. And
Mm.
these two books had a very profound impact on me. And that's where my journey of looking into stories, understanding them began. And what happened is, and I'll also tell you what exactly happened. Sydney Sheldon gave me images. Sydney Sheldon actually taught me, how to visualize the streets of Italy. It helped me to visualize the Mona Lisa painting. When I close my eyes, I can see the streets of Italy in front of me. I can see the Louvre Museum, which I've never been, in front of me. So that is the visualization power that that book gave me. The second, You Can Win, gave me a lot of motivational books,
Mm.
information. And I realized that, I'm not the dumbest person on this earth, and I'm not that bad, and I can improve. So that's my story. That's how I moved, that's how my childhood was. And, books gave me a new way, new light.
Amazing. I'm sure people who would be listening to you, they also must be correlating somewhere that they also don't fall in that top category where everyone else falls in. And we call ourselves average student. But end of the day, though, that average stigma carries on, and parents may not you may not be able to get to that impression which you always wanted in your parents' eyes. They lack somewhere. So you found it through this storytelling. Can you help viewers here how they can transform using that technique, using using this particular power to articulate and to be able to make themselves as a successful personality per se?
Sure, sure, definitely. See, for last many years, like let me just trace back a bit more, and then I'll come to this topic. Okay, so people can have a connection. So what happened is once I accepted the fact, and once the book started helping me, I started digging a lot, and now I, as you mentioned in my introduction, I am a project manager. I've got many certifications in project management and agile. I am a master's degree holder in project management as well. So what impacted me is that whenever I listen to people, I started understanding their story. So let me give you first of all the advantages of storytelling. Okay, so that specifically for children. Now I have a small child, and we all grew up listening to Nana Nani Dada Dadi stories, right? The idea was very simple, that all those stories have a moral, right? Like
Yeah.
don't steal, don't do this is good, blah 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 blah. But what happens is when we start growing up, we think that stories are only जो हमने बचपन में सुनी थी, and we start ignoring everything else, right? But if you listen to any successful person right now, be it Mark Zuckerberg or Gary Vee or anybody, they will share what exactly the story was. How they had their struggle, how they moved, what the struggle, what was the problem, what was the solution, and what they are doing right now. What I just explained right now is also called as 3S of storytelling structure. So you actually got your first lesson on storytelling now, all the viewers, of how to identify a story and how to even use your own topic, be it your project, be it in your your classroom. Let's say you're going for elocution, right? And you're given a topic, right? Now, how do we do that with the topic, right? You take up what the problem is in the topic. Let's say pollution. So you don't go and say that, oh, mujhe ye karna hai, mujhe wo karna hai. You first share the pollution, say what is the problem that the world is facing, right? Then you share your point of view, right? Because if you're in an education, you will not share the result, but you'll share your point of view. When you do this in a form of a story rather than form of a statement, add some characters to it. Start by saying that, I went to Mumbai and, it's open, I got sick. People will connect with you. People will bond with you. Now, that's an example what I'm giving you of storytelling. Okay. Now, let me share the benefits specifically for children. All right. It inspires purposeful talking. It's not just picking up data from some place and just throwing out numbers. There is no connection if you just throw out numbers. Okay, I could have just said that, you know what, Devinder, I was not good at study, and I got a book. मैंने वो book पढ़ी और हो गया. No, I have to say it in a form of a story so that you can connect with me. That's what we call as articulation of the word. Okay, stories will help you to be a better writer. Your essays will become more better. And I'm just talking this for the students now. Okay, of course, for people like me, our presentation skills become very better, right? Your listening skills become better, and you will see everything in a form of a story. Engagement is better, communication is better, collaboration is better.
So if I articulate your story in my format, let's say I'm using the same word. So while telling story, I think we are using quite a lot of senses of ours. We are using our imaginations. We use building up that story. We are using our visuals. We're using our hearing aspect because you're telling it, and then we are correlating somewhere. So I think that storytelling actually helps us memorize for a longer period of time anything which we talk and make use of it and immediately recollect. Is that what my understanding goes right?
Bang on. You're absolutely right. Storytelling, what's the art and science of storytelling? Let me share that. The art and science, the science says that when I say a story as a speaker, you as a listener will have the same brain wave inside. It is called as mirror neuron. Okay. You will
Mm-hmm.
have the same concept in your head. That's number one. What Devinder ji just mentioned is about the taste, smell, sense. When you talk about data, you just trigger one sense. When you talk it with the when you put all the imagination, like how I'm sorry, how I mentioned about me walking to the museum and watching the Mona Lisa painting despite I'm in Mumbai at 2 a.m. reading the book is because of the storytelling technique. It will
Wow.
engage your audience to the fact that they will be ready to listen to you. And when people are listening to you, you can persuade them better. So that's another thing. If you are in sales, if you want to convince somebody about your pitch, if you can tell a better story, you will be able to convince them. You will be able to make sure that your teachers, your audience, your students give you a standing ovation because they connect. Last part, stories also go and hit the hormones. What are hormones? I call them happy hormones and sad hormones. So hormones like dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin.
Yeah.
When you engage, when you listen to my story, and if you feel a little sad or you feel connected to me, that means I have engaged your oxytocin in your body. And that's what stories do. That's why people, I'll give you one example quickly. I'm sure everyone would have seen Tare Zameen Par movie.
Ah,
Everyone.
favorite movie.
And if you see Tare Zameen Par movie, the theme of the movie, and remember one thing, guys, every story needs to have a message. Okay, a
Yes.
story without a message is blah 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 blah. Okay, so,
I know.
so Tare Zameen Par, dyslexia was before Tare Zameen Par. People knew about it, but people always thought it as mentally retarded.
Ah,
Tare never got them to think in a way that it's not mental retardness. It is just another form of a problem and we have to deal with it. Right? What
yes.
they just didn't go there and think that, oh, you know what, dyslexia एक problem होता है, वो देखो ऐसा होता है. No, they built up a story, right?
Hmm.
They built up a story using Ishan Awasthi, his problem, his struggle, his solution, and then success.
Your voice is gone, Amit. Is there an issue in the network? I
No, no,
think,
no.
yeah, you're back.
Yeah, yeah, I'm back. So that's exactly what story
Hmm.
does. It goes and triggers many parts of
That's,
your brain emotionally as well.
so it gives me an idea to ask you, how about parents, if they need to let something know to their kids, which is something good to learn, which is something for them for their betterment. Again, as you suggest, as you give the idea to me, they should use the storytelling. Now, kids are very small ones. You can use a Dadi Nani's ka story. How do you go about telling teenagers any stories that something which is right and value proposition in life to go for? Any idea? I'm sorry, I'm
Well,
putting you such
that
kind of
no, no,
such kind of questions to you. It's could be a little tricky because
that's
I know
really
you're much seasoned and experienced to help us through.
no, that's a fantastic question because I always think about this question because my son is 5 and like I do
There's still little
storytelling for
network issue.
like, oh, can you hear me? I can hear you. Can you hear me? Is it good?
Just to be. Yeah, now. Yes, go ahead.
Better?
Hmm.
Okay. So, my son is 5, and I know he's going. I mean, he's growing up, and also I have while teaching storytelling, I have two students who are like age 10 and 14, and now the question is, how do I train them, right? And it's very tricky because you have to try to get into their shoes. So what I do is, now of course for parents, I'm sure they would know their child better than me knowing my students, right?
Are you there,
So
Amit? I think there is a little
yeah,
network challenge.
I'm around. Can you hear me? Hello? Can the audience hear me? People who are live, if you can paste it. Okay. I think Davinder ji is going to come back. I can see her on Instagram. She will log in here as well to StreamYard. Let's wait.
Thank you. It's so sorry for this trouble. I'm back
No,
here,
no
Amit. Can you
worries.
hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead. So my question to you was, how do you deal with teenager students of yours?
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, I was saying that with children, parents know them a bit better than what I know my students, right? So, I think the key is that they need to look into the areas, their so I mean, don't dive into their social media accounts, but at least understand who their friends are and what they do. And we need to guide them with stories that are apt to their age. Okay, so let me share some example, like, how about guiding them with the stories from taking it from, let's say, Gary V, or from Tony Robbins and others. Even go into some marketing people, because a lot of time our stories come from the fables. Fables means जो दादा दादी की stories हुआ करती थी, or it will come from Ramayana Mahabharat, or our personal experience, which could be a little damaged, right? So I think the key is, uh, we need to get onto social media and go through certain posts of the famous people who are around, and understand our children, and what we need to focus on them, because sometimes and one advice I would always tell it to everyone, everybody, be it parent, child, or anyone, is that do not start saying that, let me tell you a story.
Ah, so this is the mistake we do.
Yeah. Yeah,
So you have to
never do
just
that.
switch them. You have to switch them into your story to
Just
sell your
just
idea.
start off just start off saying that, आज मेरे ऑफिस में किसी का नाम लो, and always have some name which is relevant. Okay.
Ah.
Not like Chintamani or somebody. And I'm sorry if Chintamani sir is listening to this. But
Don't
I'm,
be
I'm just giving you an
Chintamani.
example. Okay. So it is really tricky. I do understand it, but they need to put themselves in the children's shoes, understand their concern area, and give them space, and share the story in a way that it resonates with them. Uh,
Hmm.
that's all I can say. But the basic story कुछ भी हो सकती है, but आप fundamental थी structure वैसे ही रखो. That is what my saying is always. Struggle, solution, success.
Perfect. Can you repeat that again, Amit?
Sure. Struggle. What is in the struggle? Struggle में होगा कि problem क्या था, और उस problem की वजह से क्या impact हो रहा है. सेकंड इज द सोल्यूशन, आपने वो सोल्यूशन कैसे ढूंढा, और उस सोल्यूशन का आप पे वो प्रॉब्लम का कैसे इम्पैक्ट हुआ. एंड ऑफ कोर्स, सिंस नाउ यू आर इम्प्लीमेंटिंग इट, इससे आपको सक्सेस क्या मिला.
Hmm. So, guys, this is the biggest tip of the day. What Amit is telling it to you, anything you do, if you actually put it across in a format of a story with those three main fundamentals, what Amit has given you right now, struggle, the third was success, and the second was solution.
Solution.
So struggle and then tell me the solution, and then how did you reach the success? These three fundamental, you frame your story and then put your across your word. Everywhere in every field you are in, you can actually make an impact. That stories can impact. And that's what the show of Amit, which talks about that. Amit, let's talk about your program run for people to help them. How do they actually articulate? How do they learn to articulate the story in their life at any aspect and at any level? Whether they're kids, they're grown up, they're professionals, they're personal levels, everywhere that helps. So let Amit just talk about your program.
Sure. Thank you very much. uh, there are two things that I'm doing these days. First is the stories that impact show that Davinder ji mentioned at the start. The idea is very simple, and it came out from the thought that, I have a lot of stories personally, because I have my life like this all the time, right? And everyone has stories. Let me put it this way, okay? And it's just that when you share your story in a certain way, it is called as articulation. You can impact people. Now,
Yes.
I cannot. I thought one day that, मैं ये तो यूज करता आ रहा हूँ मेरे ऑफिस में लास्ट 10-15 years से. So, but I cannot tell God to give me cancer so that I come out of cancer and share it with people, right? So I thought, I have to go to people and I have to impact more people. So I started this show called a Stories That Impact. And for all the audience of this show, Davinder ji is my next guest who's going to come on 24th and bless my show. Where the idea is very simple is that people will share their story and share the impact with the world, you know, and listening to that, others can get benefited. So that's one thing. Second is, I also want people to help them तो स्टोरीज कैसे बोलते हैं क्योंकि किसी को भी आप पूछो अरे यार एक स्टोरी बोल अपने बारे में अरे यार मेरे लाइफ में तो कुछ हुआ ही नहीं है बिकॉज पीपल yeah, because people feel that there should be very bad things that should happen to them, you know, like पैर कट गया मेरा या मैं कोई बाहर डिजीज से बाहर आया या कोई बड़ी डेथ हो गई उन that's not the point. Every day is a story. So what I do in my program is very simple. I take up people and I help them to do many things. So I teach them what exactly is storytelling, why storytelling, of course, what exactly it is. I teach them the how to dig stories and how to create story bank so that उनको अगर कल को कोई story बोलनी है वो let's say function पे जा रहे हैं शादी पे and you know people like to talk right then what do you talk you don't like to gossip so you want to talk something so they will pull up stories from story bank and know that oh शादी पे मुझे ये बोलना है अगर मैं फ्यूनरल पे गया तो ये बोलना है मैं मेरे ऑफिस के पार्टी में हूँ तो ये बोलना है मैं स्टेज पे खड़ा हूँ तो ये बोलना है you know so you need to create a story bank right so that you know how to get the story अब कैसे पता चलेगा कि आपको कौन सी स्टोरी कब बोलनी है राइट सो फॉर दैट आई टीच देम द साइंस ऑफ स्टोरी टेलिंग. So which story you will tag your story that this story will get you in dopamine, this story will help you with oxytocin, this story will help you with serotonin, and I'll explain them what. Then we deep dive into structure. जो मैंने आज बताया that was one structure. There are many. So we go through certain structures more so that now you know that okay in this scenario I will tell this structure of story. In this scenario I'll do this. Then I also share them how to deliver it. Right now, you have collated all the information, you have the data of delivery, right? So that's a bit of public speaking. So there they will learn more, you know, a little art, how you're going to talk, how your gestures are gonna be. ऐसे रखने से क्या मतलब होता है और ऐसे रखने से क्या मतलब होता है मुंडी ऐसे करने से क्या मतलब होता है you know those
Seriously?
aspects. Yeah, exactly. Because when you tilt a little your head, that means you are connecting with a certain level of emotion with a person. Okay. When you do
Okay.
like this, there is certain things. So there's a lot of things in it, right?
So you made me conscious now. I'm just thinking, where am I tilting?
So so
Thank you
that
so much for letting me know.
so that's exactly what I do in my program.
Amazing. Amazing, amazing, Amit. And it was a fantastic, fantastic show and a fantastic talk. And
Thank you.
an amazing show to conclude with. Any last tip from your side for people? There have been so much of an amazing thing which he came up with. You guys can actually achieve any kind of thing. You're looking forward for promotions. You don't know how to articulate your stuff. You don't know how to talk about it. This is a learning. You have in school, you're not able to mix up with other kids. There is a trouble in you not being able to present yourself well. There is again a way to present yourself with a story and a right format of how to articulate yourself. It is something like expressing yourself how other person perceives you, and there Amit has just given a bang on ideas, and
Sure,
you can
sure.
go ahead and do it. And he's been running that kind of a program which helps people who are not able to articulate learn it to how to articulate things for your own benefit, any level you are at. Amazing, Amit. Any last tip from your side for the people before we conclude?
Yes, yes. One last thing. You know, the richest place on this earth is the graveyard.
Yes.
And why I say this is because people die with lots of information in their mind, lots of stories. I have lost my father in that, and I till date regret that I don't know him well. So, my real request to everyone is that use stories, share them with everyone. Know your parents, know your children, know your grandparents, know your uncle, aunties, know your friends, everyone, and share stories, because that's the only thing that will be left once you're gone. And that's the only thing that will be passed on from generations to generations to generations. And it will never die. It will only grow.
This was an emotional conclusion, Amit. Guys,
Sorry
we
about
all go, what would be left is our stories. So let's create that impact. Let's leave a legendary story. It's not needed to, it has to be a bad thing, which you come out with and you tell people that something has happened and how I have come out. Not needed. You can be a best of your life. And then also, there is a story behind you, which you have to just go ahead and let people know how did you dealt with it in an amazing manner. There's no needed to be a negative things around you. There could be a positive things around you, which you have utilized and other people didn't know how to do it.
absolutely.
Amazing. I mean, I
Absolutely.
loved it. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Amit, and
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for coming on to the show. Guys, it
Thank
was
you.
my pleasure inviting Amit here on the show, and I'm sure you must have also liked the discussion we had today. And for today, I think this is enough to be honest with the DK in the show, and I will meet you next week again with a new guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.